Hello everyone, we have finally arrived at the last eclipse of this eclipse season and this year as well, the November 8th total lunar eclipse. We won't be able to see the totality of this eclipse from Europe. On the other side of the globe, you may experience it, since it will be in the, for us, it will be in the morning. The London time is 11:02. And for the rest of Europe, it's 12:02. Lunar eclipses. What's happening with lunar eclipses? Let's take a look at the diagram that I think I found this just surfing the net. Please take a look at what is happening during a lunar eclipse. As you know, that the moon is orbiting around the Earth, and sometimes, once every month, it becomes opposite the sun. So the moon and the sun are opposite each other while the Earth is in between them. This is just normally the full moon, of course. But if the three celestial objects are also aligned declinationally, then what happens is that the umbra of the Earth slowly covers the face of the full moon. And there are two portions of the Earth's shadow. One is called the umbra, which is the darker one, which produces complete darkness when it shadows something. And then there is also the perumbra, which is like a half shadow. If you have seen total eclipses, lunar eclipses, which are perumbrals, you probably saw it that the face of the moon did not disappear completely. There's this reddish tint. You can actually see. So if it's a perumbral eclipse, it's not really, nothing is really disappearing. But what's more interesting is the psychological understanding of what is actually happening. The sun is the consciousness energy. It of course illuminates everything. Atomic astrology is your chosen energy pattern that you want to develop during your life. So your sun sign is something that you're striving to become, and you will not reach it until the very end of your life. So you are constantly adding to it, you're building it, you are exploring it, you are making it richer and more experienced. Whereas the moon is your subconscious. It is your instinctual behavior. It's your emotions. So when you have a sun-moon opposition, they illuminate each other. And the sun, of course, illuminates the total face of the moon. So consciousness illuminates the subconscious, but the subconscious reflects back and kind of answers back to the consciousness of the sun. And also, so this reflection is going both ways. And then comes the Earth. And what's the Earth? Human pleasures, the physical body, the pleasures and cravings and desires of human life, of physical life, and slowly covers and shadows the fully illuminated moon disk. So all of a sudden, kind of both luminaries are blocked out by what? By your human desires. And that's exactly what's happening during a total lunar eclipse. Be careful, because your human urges, your physical urges can become very, very prominent and strong while a total lunar eclipse is occurring. Let's take a peek at the London chart. It has a fascinating ascendant. It's at Sagittarius, 29 degrees 53, so right at the very, very ending of the Sag ascendant, suggesting some sort of energetic energy. Although if I see this in a human being's chart, I always interpret it in a way that, okay, you waited until the very last moment because you wanted this energy. You wanted your physical body to reflect that particular sign. So it's very different. This is a space-time moment. And it is as if, yes, I don't really want to step into the harsh, bleak pattern of Capricorn. I want to stay with whatever the Jupiterian Sag energy pattern suggests, which is future-oriented, hopeful, enthusiastic, everything that Sag is. And of course, then Jupiter is the chart ruler in this chart, which actually squares the ascendant-descendant angle, because and it's an exact anaretic square, because Jupiter just moved back into Pisces. So everything is halted. Everything is like we are waiting for the big wave to crash on us. Something, it has this kind of flavor. And of course, there is another T-square involving the nodal axis and the Sun-Moon opposition, at the apex of which is Saturn. The Saturn-Uranus square is luckily separating already, but in this particular chart, it is very prominent because of the opposition of the nodes and, of course, the Sun-Moon. So here you have an unresolvable and unresolved energy pattern, which gives us a moment of reflection that really this is what we want. Really, we want to completely destroy our whole likelihood, our whole Earth and the human existence, because that's what the powers that be are really hoping and aiming at the moment. This is how it feels. You do have some other conjunctions. If you take a good look at this, the North Node is conjunct Dark Moon Lilith, accepting the curse. And yes, my dear, you need to do what your destiny is, and don't bother. It's completely disregard cancel culture, the radical leftist labels that will be probably put upon you. Just disregard it. Take the curse upon you. Who cares? Okay, we need to get rid of this woke culture because it's really idiotic and it really destroys human life. Dear Greens, I don't care for you, okay? Don't tell me what to eat. Don't tell me what to wear, how to heat my house, and how to live, what to drive. I don't care, okay? Try to police yourself if you want to, but you have don't want any interference, because you don't have any rights. You have no right to interfere in my life. Try to understand it. This is practically it. And then the moon is conjunct Uranus, highlighting and illuminating from a psychic level, from an emotional level, the changes that we have to suffer. And of course, on the other side, you have a Mercury Sun Kazimi. The Mercury is about 8 minutes of an arc from the Sun. This is a very strong placement. Whenever you find a celestial object within 17 minutes of an arc conjunct the Sun, it becomes infused with the energy of the Sun. The placement is called Kazimi, which means at the heart of the Sun, and is greatly strengthened by its potentials. And this, you can see that Venus is already separating from the conjunction, still there, but already putting it behind her, so to speak. The love goddess is walking away from this triple conjunction. The Juno-Astrea conjunction is still very tight. I have been talking about this for weeks, so I'm not going to mention it. And you have a Pallas Athena Black Moon Lilith conjunction as well, which was in my November 4th video, so you can check what it means. And if you take a good look, you will see that there's a Vesta-Mars trine. There's also a Vesta-Neptune square, so it's another very strong indication of the Don Quixote energy, the Quixotic fight. We are fighting against something that we don't know what it is, and the smoke screen is still there. But Vesta, the focusing principle, is helping us to understand. And of course, there's also a Pluto-Mars quincunx. So as you know, that Pluto is a higher octave of Mars. It simply gives you a flavor of that there is an ongoing war on the surface, but there's a much bigger war and struggle behind the screens and in the underworld, so to speak. So, and there's also a Sedna ascendant trine that's also an anaretic trine. So this anaretic T-square mutable energetic T-square involving the ascendant, descendant, and Jupiter is really dissolved by Sedna creation through dissection. This is precisely what we need to do in this space-time moment. So here's the dissolved T-square. This is perhaps the most important pattern of what we can see here. And there's a finger of fate and also a fixed earth engine. Those are the main the old finger of fate involving sun old 4 days ago, 5 days ago, we had a finger of fate with Ceres in it. It's no longer closing, but we have another one involving Chiron and anyhow, and then there's also a fixed earth engine in it, you can see, and also a little engine. So that's the here. Let's take a look at this transcendental objects. As I said, the sun was already separating from the south node in a way, and with the sun Mercury, you have Odin, which is the chick god, and Zuben el-Ganubi, the scale, one of the scales of the Libra, of the celestial balance, indicating positive social reform. On the south node, you have Circe, which was on the sun 4 days ago, and Pax, which denotes peace. And again, the Alphecca and Acrux. Fixed stars are prominent. You may remember 4 days ago, I showed you how these two stars are very, very separate territories of the night sky. Acrux is the alpha star of the Southern Cross. You never see it from the Northern Hemisphere, denoting the acceptance of life in a physical body and the duties and also the pleasures of it. And Alpha Corona Borealis, Alphecca, is the crown, is the bridal crown or tiara that Dionysus provides Ariadne with, and so it's the happiness of a new bride and feminine pleasures. The moon has Helena, the moon-Uranus conjunction has Helena, the lady who caused the Trojan War. On the north node and dark moon, you have Niobe, Imhotep, and Albion. Niobe, which symbolizes the fact that at the moment in this horrible war between Ukraine and Russia, which is really the war of the nation state and the global agenda, so to speak, because that's it. And I need to emphasize that I'm not for the Russians and not against the Ukrainian people. I'm against war as such. We Hungarians don't love the Russians at all. They caused us so much pain in the last couple of 100 years that you don't know. And no, I'm not for any of them. And I think this, but I still think that this war needs to stop, and that's the key issue here, and that's what this particular placement suggests as well. So we have Niobe, which indicates that a lot of mothers are losing their children nowadays in this war, and the problem is that the next generation's potentials are being killed on the battlefield. That's the problem. Imhotep is of course the polymath, and Albion again is is kind of like an Adam Cadmon figure in William Blake's mythology, and it signifies creation through dismantling something old and renewing it in a way. It's not really the creation through dissection, like something like Sedna signifies. It is a deeper thing, because when I am cutting myself into 4 equal pieces so that I can create a new entity, that's what it suggests. Read William Blake and you will understand it deeper. And this signifies the Ukraine, because Ukraine was created by superpowers, and this is not, it has never been a functioning country. Sorry, Ukrainians, it's true. And it had so many different nations in it. and even the language was Russian. I mean, Zelensky is a Russian person. He didn't speak Ukrainian 5 years ago. Okay, research it and you will see. So it's a whole creation. It's a fabricated entity, and maybe, just maybe, it would be much better off in a smaller portion, which is entirely Ukrainian, and create their own myths and create their own entity as such, and then leave the other nationalities alone. Maybe that's an idea, food for thought. Of course, the powers that be don't want this, because half of Ukraine is already being sold to American entities. So that's the reason for the war, the main reason. On Cairo, you have Hel, the underworld goddess of the Norse mythology. Leila Kuhona, which is a centaur, not a centaur, actually a TNO, but in comic astrology, all centaurs, TNOs, SDOs, whatnots are called centaurs because they signify karmic wounds. And Leila Kuhona, which is a bird in Hawaiian mythology, I have a video on this, that you can research it, but it describes the craving of the human soul without a physical body, how we crave to come back here and experience the wonders of the earth plane and the physical plane, so 3D, coming down to the 3D energy pattern. And then, sorry, this is okay. I don't know how to, whatever. And then Alderamin, I spoke to you about Alderamin a couple of times. This is the Kephos Cassiopeia, Andromeda, Perseus legend. He is a poor king who doesn't know what to do. And then on Ceres, you have Diomedes. He was a Thracian lord, overlord, and he was responsible for many, many bad things. And then Osiris, which is the lord of the underworld, the Egyptian underworld. Orcus, which is the Etruscan, again, lord of the underworld. So here you have a lot of underworld energy, a lot of hellish underworld energy. Theos, the centaur who is hunting bears and he tries to reform them, just like America tries to push his woke agenda upon the whole world, and the whole world says, no, thank you, we don't want that. And then there's also on Ceres, you have the Alcor and Mizar, which are part of Ursa Major and parts of the celestial dipper. Here it is. And Alcor and Mizar are really, one is a really big star, which is Zeta, I think, is it Zeta? Hold on a second. Yeah, Zeta Ursa Major with 2.4. And Alcor is a tiny, tiny star here. This is the dot, it's 80. So it only gets a number. So it's really a binary star, so to speak. It's not really binary because these are two separate stars. Okay, they just look next to each other, looking from the Earth plane. But here is this position which shows why they are very, very relevant. This is the Big Dipper, okay? And this is where the shaft of the Big Dipper is broken. And it's important because it signifies a breaking point. Just what happened in the Vela Cataclysm 12,500 years ago. We had a major cataclysm in which the planet between Mars and Jupiter got blown up, and also that the axis of the Earth got tilted, and we lost our paradise. We lost our previous nice energy life, and we are actually we were pushed into this darkness of winter that is coming. And this is exactly what it's symbolized here in this particular space-time moment, that we are again at the brink of such a very decisive historical energy that we might destroy our Earth. We might destroy again 9/10 of human life and life on Earth. This is really what we want. This is the breaking point. And if we don't do something about it, we will regret it very soon. In the London chart, you also have this old cardinal T-square with celestial object at 24 to 26 degrees. We have a T-square involving the Pluto, Pallas Athena, Lilith opposition with Aries at its apex. As I said, the Pluto Aries square is no longer actually applying its thankfully it's separating, but it's still there. And now two very important, strong, independent feminine archetypes are entering the picture, so to speak. But you also have a harmony triangle with Aries at its apex. So it's kind of dissolving the T-square with Vesta Mass, the Vesta West trine. And you also can see an interesting tiny little trapeze, which is just a stepping stage, really, with the opposition, the two semi-sextiles, Pluto, Vesta, focusing on power, and Mars, Pallas Athena, fighting for a good cause. So that's the Mars Vesta trine is the stage of the trapeze. And some transcendental celestial objects. I did not put in these any longer because I already talked about it many, many times. On Mars, you have Nestor and Alnitak. Alnitak is one of the best stars. On Neptune, you have Markab, which is for Pegasus. Again, symbolizing the ideas that are jumping out of our head. On Pluto, you have Orpheus and Amicus. And Amicus is still, I mean, I've said this about 100 times already. It's one of the centaurs who starts fighting with a candelabra, and it is utilizing sacred objects in a very profound war. So that's what the powers that be are doing, actually. Nothing is ever sacred anymore. And on Pallas Athena Black Moon, you have Pollux, out of Castor and Pollux, in the story, Pollux is the artist who is not successful, who is not happy, but who has an eternal life. And on Vesta, you have Heracles and Horemheb, two heroes, two strong men. One of them, Heracles, is the hero, and Horemheb has an interesting story. He was a slave and became a general under Tutankhamun's court. And then when Tutankhamun dies at the age of 17, you can guess how and why, Horemheb becomes the pharaoh. So it's like a usurper energy type. That's on Vesta. And this is what we may focus on. And there's also a tense bow in the London chart. You can see this bow. It kind of looks like a mystic rectangle, but the mystic rectangle is made up by two opposition, two sextiles and two trines, whereas this tense bow is like a bow tie. It looks like a bow tie. Again, is made up by two oppositions, and here's the ascendant, descendant, and the nodal axis, which are making 45 degrees and 135 degrees with each other. And in this way, this is really a tense bow. So for Londoners and the English, this is a tense space-time moment, signifying that they are, as a nation, at a crossroads of what and how they are going to do as a destiny choice, and also who are their allies and who are their enemies, and what have they learned from the past. So this is it. Of course, when you live elsewhere, in the States or in anywhere else in the world, you need to find the space-time moment for your own place and see the emerging patterns there. Any configuration that is valid for one place involving the ascendant, descendant, MC-IC angles won't be valid elsewhere. So you just need to research it for yourself. Of course, the eclipse occurs at 6 o'clock in the morning for the eastern shores of the United States, and which means that if you have towns and cities where the polling stations open at 6 o'clock, that's exactly the moment of the eclipse. We will see what will happen in this midterm elections, but I'm really interested to see the outcome. If we want to glean understanding from the Brazilian election, that was very strange. Not the election itself, but what happened afterwards, how they tried to censor any questioning. And if you can't question the outcome of something, how is this democracy? And what is really democracy? I'm always asking, because it's a farce, really, what's going on in the world at the moment. But happy lunar eclipse, and try to get the most of it, and be careful because your human senses are going to change things around you, and you may do stupid things that you may regret afterwards. So a word of caution. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.